You're listening to the Para House Entertainment Network. Come join us as we take you deep into the fire to the paranormal realms of hauntings, UFOs, ETs, alien abductions, strange creatures, and the vastness of universal consciousness as we continue to seek what is not supposed to exist as we search for the truth that only comes from going into the fire. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Into the Fire. It's a wonderful first day of June, and we have a wonderful super guest for us here tonight. Can't wait to bring her on, and we're talking about the one and only Dr. Kris Sumner. And guys, going to be an exciting night because she is ready to go. We talked to her a little bit beforehand. Yep. Really looking forward to this one. So what's been going on, guys? Haven't seen you. How was your Memorial Day?
How was it?
It was pretty good. Stayed around the house doing some stuff,
Yeah, it's been weird doing things around the house.
I didn't get to do too much stuff around the house.
We did a lot of stuff around the house.
I wasn't around the house too much, but I did get to see the latest edition here in Franklin, Kentucky, with the new monolith that just kind of appeared out of nowhere here down by Drake's Creek. Very interesting. Got some videos of it and everything else and tell a story. You can go to my Facebook page and see it there. It's kind of interesting. But we have got the most interesting guest and somebody that we just loved to pieces. A very great investigator, a good friend. And it is wonderful to be able to have her on here tonight. So let me bring on Miss Kris Sumner. Hi,
hey
Kris,
there.
how you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are y'all doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing good. If I can get by the whole thing. Now I got my door shut. It's weird. And I got to tell you, when you do all this stuff in the paranormal, and you're sitting here and you're getting ready to do a radio show, and you look out the window out down the hallway and you see a shadow figure on your back porch, you go, better get out something.
how's it going?
Take them back to the hall, Bears. Take them back.
Right. Yeah. It's called Father Casey Shrugs. I'm overdue for my 2 week of cleansing and blessings. We had problems. But Kris, it's such a pleasure to have you here tonight. And what I'd like to do is, if possible, can you tell us a little bit about you? Because you have got a great bio. I mean, here you are as a paranormal investigator. I don't know too many people that have the degrees and the things that you have, plus all the traveling and everything that you've done. And we're going to get into that tonight and talk a little bit more about it. But we'd like to just hear a little bit about you. So you mind giving us the shot of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Not at all. As you said, my name is Dr. Kris Sumner. I'm the founder of Soul Sisters Paranormal. My background is actually, my PhD is in public affairs with an emphasis on criminal justice, and my master's is in criminal justice. And it's interesting because I do think we utilize that when we go on our paranormal investigations. My twin sister, Jenny, happens to have the same degree. So it's one of those where I think it's useful in what we do, especially that criminal justice background. But we started in 2013 as an all-female paranormal investigation team. Our first investigation was actually at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia. And since that time, we've just gone to some of the most historic and haunted locations in the U.S. and really delving into the history of those locations and hoping to find some great paranormal evidence that we've been able to couple that with the historical narrative of those locations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is amazing. And, when you say twin, is she an exact twin?
She is. She's an exact twin. I was actually the little surprise for my parents, and I was born 8 minutes after Jenny. They did not know that I was on the way, but it's worked out ever since.
So have you decided to overbook and do 2 different locations and act as
That'd be an interesting experiment. Absolutely.
Those are
Yeah,
always
we'll get one at we'll
Wouldn't
get
it
one at
be?
the Stone Jail. We'll get one at Octagon Hall and
Oh,
see
yeah,
what happens.
exactly. That would be interesting. That would be definitely interesting. Kind of be going, number 1
Yeah.
or number 2. So start off tonight. We've interviewed each other. I've interviewed you before in the past, and I know that everything has changed a little bit for everybody. But I know that at one time, I think now your team's a little bit smaller than it was. And do you still have the same
It
people
is,
on your team and everything else? You do?
Well, we started with 5 females. Essentially, we started with 5 of us. Myself, my twin sister Jenny, our younger sister, and then 2 family friends. And for logistic reasons, in 2020, Jenny and I did become the sole investigators for Soul Sisters Paranormal. Michelle, Kim, and Cara will accompany us on different investigations if their schedule permits. But again, just for logistic reasons, it's easier to coordinate 2 people than it is 5, especially when we live in different parts of the country. So the last 4 or 5 investigations, it's just been Jenny and myself, which makes it a little bit more interesting, obviously, because we are twins, and I think we do have that strong bond, that connection. And then, we don't have 5 individuals there, dealing out the equipment and all of that. So it's a little bit more tedious on that aspect, but it's actually been a blast just doing this with Jenny over the last 5 investigations. And I think it really changes the dynamics a little bit, but we're still holding true to our main objective, which is, again, telling that historical narrative of those locations and then coupling that with some what we feel is compelling evidence.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm sitting here in either, how much time did you spend up north?
Just recently?
No, were you born up north?
No, I was born in Florida.
Does everybody in Florida talk that fast? I'm like going, you got to remember something. We're from the South. It's kind of like,
okay. I'm sorry. I'll slow down just a little bit. I come from a large family, so
and you know how I love to, my sarcasm. You know how I love to tease people. So
no, that's fine. I'll bring it down a little bit. I'm just excited to be here, Bear. Yeah. It's my enthusiasm for talking with you.
Third graded. That's what I always tell. Say that to some people go, excuse me, but this is Barry you're talking to. Can you third grade that for me? But no, hon.
One of our hats blow off. We might have hit our limit.
That's right. That's it. But you know what? As we're talking about the paranormal, we all love the paranormal. We've all been in it for a long time. You started in 2014. You said that you were up at the wonderful West Virginia State Penitentiary, and that was your first investigation.
It was, it was interesting because
go home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, my grandpa was actually a prison guard there before he became the chief of police of Glendale, West Virginia. So he was the police chief in Glendale for 32 years. And but before that, he was a prison guard at Moundsville. So to have that connection, to go in there and know the history behind that, one of our dear friends was actually on the board of Moundsville at the time, and he suggested that we go in and stay the night when we were there for a girls' trip. So it was a very unique experience. It was interesting being in the hometown of my mom and just having that familial connection with the town and the residents there. But it was an amazing investigation. It was one that was very low scale for us as we are now. We just had some voice recorders and a couple digital cameras, and but we were still capturing doors slamming, footsteps, male voices when we were the only people there. So it was extremely compelling, and that's really what propelled us into kind of what we do now and really how we do it. It really kind of shaped our investigation style as we do it now.
Excellent. It's funny because as we go through it, all of our investigation styles change. The longer you're in it, the difference you do. And we find out that, you know, uh, take those two over there, Billy and Tanya, when we're going out on an investigation, sometimes we just like to sit down, take a recorder, maybe a REM pod or something like that, and an EMF meter, and just sit there and let them come to us. We don't hunt them. We want them to come to us. And we'll go around the areas, but sometimes it's so great just to sit there and to listen, And so right now there are different things we do use and all that, but I just like to go back to the old basics and sit there and just really enjoy it. And it seems like it works a lot better for our team. I don't know how it works for your team, but it always seems to be just great that way.
It really is just to rely on those fundamentals, and really when you watch our videos and the evidence that we put out there, it really is based mostly on EVPs and personal experiences. We do have various pieces of equipment such as REM pods and K2s because we feel if we really only get one shot at some of these locations, we want to validate as much as we can. For example, when we went to the old Gilchrist County Jail, which the first time I went, I was actually with Miranda from Ghost Biker, and we had every piece of equipment was validating every other piece of equipment that night. So for example, we were hearing voices in the moment. We were seeing shadow figures. We were also capturing on the SLS. We had the spirit box going off the REM pod. And I know a lot of teams feel that some of these pieces of equipment are controversial, but when we use them, we don't do them just in a vacuum, right? We try to really couple them with other pieces of equipment and our personal experiences. And so when we can do that, when we can couple those things together, that's what to us makes a much more compelling story. And so, but to your point, we do heavily rely on the voice recorders because we do feel that the EVPs are the most pure form of paranormal evidence that we can capture.
Right. And they are, they definitely are. And let's talk about that just for a second. One of the things that, and as long as we've been doing it, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it because EVPs are one of those things that are mysterious in all ways. And after being along with it as long as I've been doing it, I still can't tell you exactly what causes an EVP and why we get them. Do you?
Obviously, I can't tell you what causes them. We all have theories. For me, and for my team, when we go into these locations, I think it's the fact that they want to tell their story. And if you go in with that sense of respect and actually try to communicate with them, I think that there are instances where they are capable and are allowed to tell that story to us. When we go into a location and I know there's only females, either myself and Jenny or the entire team, but yet I'm capturing a male's voice or a child's voice, that is extremely difficult for me to debunk. But as far as what causes them, to me, I think it's the fact that we're actually asking respectful questions and we're getting those responses because of that.
True. And like you said, it's being respectful. That's the number one thing. And asking them to tell you the story. If you do a little bit of research, and we're always big in research, and you do the same thing because we're going to historical places and there's so much there and we want to find out, we want to document their story and know more about them, just like you guys do. That's all part of the game. And when you go in and you act respectful and you tell them what you're going to do and what we like to do, and we want to know your story. And you ask them direct questions that they can answer, not like anybody here, that kind of stuff. But you get so much farther with it. But the amazing thing about EVPs to me, and how you can have 3 recorders all sitting along the line, okay, all in the same room. 1 or 2 recorders won't pick up anything, and 1 recorder picks up the EVP. They're all set on the same way. They're all set on the same thing, and that's always baffled me. The other thing is that when you're going back and reviewing them, I don't know. I used to hear like a little pop beforehand, like or a little bang, or I'd hear a real light, EVP, and it was the same EVP. And it's like they're breaking the interdimensional barrier or that veil, and it goes, and then it pops, and then you can hear them. And it's always strange to me how you can catch something on a tape that you cannot hear with your ears. And I worked in radio for a long time and recording and everything else, and it's never been logical to me, and I've always tried to figure it out. So the other thing about it is let's go to disembodied voices. What do you think about disembodied voices? Now, there's a case where so many people in a room, you can have 2 people hear them, or 3 people hear it, and the other 4 people don't hear anything. And sometimes they pick up on an EVP on a recording, and other times they're not picked up on a recording. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm always looking for the answers for. And since you are, I think of you very highly, and I know that you guys do a lot of stuff. So I'd love to hear your explanation of that, or what you think.
Time to go to school.
Yeah.
Well, again, everything that we're doing is based on theory. And again, to what I was saying with the EVPs, I think it's also saying with the disembodied voices, there's just those instances where they have enough energy, or they're essentially closer to that veil, and they're allowed to communicate with us. And to your point, we've had instances where one person has heard them and the other has not, or we've captured them on a camera and the voice recorder did not. And, it is one of those things that is quite baffling, I think to everybody who does paranormal investigations. But, I think it all comes back initially to listening. As you said before, just sitting in a room and listening. There are some instances where you've got people in the group that are talking in one-offs, and they're not really focused on really what they're doing, or the EVP session at the moment. And to me, that kind of seems where we do capture a lot of those voices and disembodied voices and EVPs that, if you when you listen to all of the voice recorders and we're talking in a group, there are those instances where you hear something behind you or around you that is caught on the voice recorder that you didn't in the moment. So it is extremely interesting when we do capture those. It's almost like it's trying to say, hey, I'm back here, I'm in this conversation. One of the interesting ones that we captured like that, and just as an example, the Lizzie Borden house, and we were setting up, but we haven't really officially started the investigation yet. We were setting up all of the equipment, and we had set up a voice recorder in the parlor where Andrew Borden was murdered. And so Jenny and Michelle, and so we set the camera up, so you see Jenny and Michelle talking, and we had the voice recorder sitting there. And when I was listening to it, you see Jenny and Michelle, again, they're talking about just random things, and the voice recorder behind Jenny captured a male's voice saying, "I'm standing right here next to you." And that was extremely interesting. Neither one of them heard it in the moment, but it was extremely clear on the voice recorder. And again, I think they're just looking for that acknowledgement, like, hey, we're here, let's communicate.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I think that there are, when you're sitting around in a group, and you always have to keep your mind open. And the longer we do it, we hear it anyway. I mean, we can be talking and doing it. And I think spirits like to be around people that are interacting. If you're sitting around telling a story or whatever, and tell it, and you have intelligent spirits there, they seem to be quite more willing to talk, and they're more interested in it because they want to know your stories.
And you're exactly right. To continue on with that story, also at the Lizzie Borden house, Jenny and Cara were sitting in that parlor as well. And we had investigated Villisca ex-murder house, and now we're at the Lizzie Borden house. And so they were talking about the differences between Villisca and Lizzie Borden. So they're just talking, and Cara said, they're different, but that, both of them were horrible. And I think that being axed to death would be a horrible way to go. And a male's voice behind her said it was. And so to your point, they want to be involved in the conversation, and they're putting their input into the conversation. And, I do think it comes back to that respect level. When you don't go in with bravado, when you don't go in with, chest thumping and saying, I'm not going to believe in you until you push a chair across the room. I think when you go in with that respect level and you sit and you say, okay, my name is Christy, I'd love to know your story. I think that's when the interaction really comes, because you're not a threat. You're not there to, essentially be commercialized by them. You're actually wanting to tell their story and really get that information out there, rather than become a sensationalism through sensationalism.
Boy, you hit that 100%, because I see it so much, and I know you see it as we travel around everywhere we go. And it's a sad thing that's happened to the paranormal. But when you get with the people that are doing it, that's where you're going to see the fantastic and most greatest evidence. And you've caught some fantastic evidence in the past. And it was funny. I know that we talked about Hale's Bar and Dam just before the show a little bit, and you were talking about it was the first place that you got a EVP that called your name. You want to talk about that a little bit and what led up to that?
Sure, absolutely. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Hales Bar Dam is in Guild, Tennessee, and there's a series of tunnels that run underneath this dam. And so at this point, it was just Jenny and I. Cara and Michelle were up on the third level. Jenny and I were down in the tunnels, and we were there's a junction. So we were in the junction of two tunnels. And so we had voice recorders around in different parts of those tunnels. And so I said, first I asked the question, can you tell us your name? And we didn't hear anything in the moment, but when we went back and listened to the voice recorder, we got a male's voice saying Henry. So in the moment, I said, can you tell us your name? We didn't hear anything. I said, can you say my name? And we heard what we thought was Christy. And when we went back and listened to the voice recorder, we captured a male's voice saying Christy. And it's one of those experiences that, okay, this is extreme. Yeah, that's it. This is because it was like, did he just say that? And so it was extremely compelling. And it's also evidence that there are intelligent spirits. They are listening. They heard my name. They're telling me, I didn't hear Henry in the moment, but when I asked, what is your name? We captured Henry. It's saying my name. So that is, again, validation to us that there is intelligent spirits. They are willing to communicate with us. They can acknowledge us. They can hear our questions. And we were just very fortunate enough to capture both of those on audio recorder.
Right. And it does show proof of spiritual activity and things beyond the grave. That's why I got into it. I was like, I had so many experiences when I was younger, and I always had a thing. At one point, I had a real bad fear of death. I don't know. I had terrible dreams about dying and everything, and what happened, and it would really bother me. And then I started doing this more and more to seek out the thing. And I used to always ask a question. So what is next? And you know what? I don't know if you've ever done that before. Have you ever gotten a response?
Not so much a response that says what really reveals what is next. I think the closest I could come to, I'll give you two examples. The closest I can come to is, and to your point also, I've always, had that fear of death as well. And my granddaddy died in 1986, and I was very close with my Nana, his wife. And in 2016, she actually ended up having an accident. But before that, I had a dream that my granddaddy came to me and said, I'm waiting for your Nana. You're going to be getting a call soon. And about 2 weeks later, Nana was in an accident, and she never really recovered from that. And so when she passed, about 3 hours after she passed, I looked at Jenny and I said, I know where she's going. She's going to go meet granddaddy in this spot in the dream that was in this house, in that spot. So we took our K2 meters, and there was no power in the house because the power had been turned off. And through a series of questions, we were able to determine what we felt was Nana and granddaddy, and that he was waiting for her, and they ascended together, because about 2 weeks later, we went to validate it. We had the same 2 K2 meters. We had asked the same exact questions in the same spot, and nothing. We had no alarms or blips on the K2 meters at all. And so that was very extremely peaceful for me. So that really kind of, in a long roundabout way, kind of answers that question. So I believe that Granddaddy gave me the knowledge, if you will, that somebody's waiting for us, right? That we're not going to die alone, that we're going to have somebody that's there that moves us to the next realm. Another example is when we were at Hale's Bar, and Michelle was asking some questions down in the tunnels. And one of the questions she asked is, why are you still here? Why haven't you moved on? And we captured a child's voice saying, I can't, I'm stuck. And so in that instance, obviously he didn't tell us what was next, but he did say he couldn't move on because he was stuck. And so those are two compelling instances where, it gives a little bit of insight into, I think, what is coming next. That, we do have the ability to move on, but in some cases, either somebody's waiting for us, which is their unfinished business, or that somebody is stuck and they can't move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all interesting. We've heard the same thing. The weirdest, I got, for a long time, I would get it. And I think, Billy, you've actually heard it before too. I've asked this question before. I get, we can't tell you, it's a secret.
No, we haven't had that one.
Yeah, I have. I've had it a few times.
That's crazy. That's interesting.
There's rules. Yeah, I've got that one too.
Wow.
Oh, there's rules.
Wow.
And I'm like going, wow. But but not anymore. I don't have that fear from being in the paranormal and doing these things with the paranormal and everything else. You don't have that fear, and you learn a lot of different things through being a paranormal investigator.
Absolutely.
What has been your, everybody always, I'm sorry, everybody goes, oh, have you ever run into a demon? Oh, no, I'm not going to ask you that. But my question is that, what's been your most hair-raising experience? Because people think it's funny if I tell them, they want to laugh at me because I ran from something, or, you get that sensation when something happens and you're listening to your body and your body goes, sorry, I got to leave. And you have you had an experience like that?
Honestly, I've never had that experience. We've never run out of a location or felt the need to back out of a space or anything like that because we're scared or nervous. Obviously, we've had moments where we've been startled. I'd say the one that, and we actually captured me saying it on video, but the one quote unquote oh shit moment that we had, we were actually at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, and this was when another collaboration that we had done with Ghost Biker. And so there was 5 of us. There was myself, Jenny, and Kim from Soul Sisters, and Miranda and Josh from Ghost Biker. So we were the only 5 on the property that night. And so we were in the gymnasium, completely dark. But in the middle of the gymnasium, we had set up a glow-in-the-dark ball. We had a K2 meter. We had a REM pod and an EDI box. And so that was the only light sources in the entire gymnasium. So we're standing about 15 feet back from this, and Miranda happens to be holding an SLS camera. So as we're watching this and we're asking questions, in my line of sight from right to left, a shadow figure runs in front of me and cuts off my line of vision to everything in the middle of the room. At the same exact time, I'm saying, did somebody see that? Miranda says, I just captured something on the SLS camera. And Josh just happens to be filming that screen. So you see the anomaly, you hear me across the room saying there's something just ran in front of me. And then as Josh pans up, this shadow figure runs again in front of everybody. We all see it. It cuts off all of our line of vision. We captured it on camera, this shadow figure cutting off the line of sight to the REM pod. And, that was one of those, it was extremely startling, but it's super cool at the same time. Because it was, I said, you heard me say, oh shit. And then I was like, this is awesome. because we just captured it on film. And so I think that was probably one of our in the moment, most interesting things that we've captured. Some of the other things that we've captured, when we go back and review our evidence, really kind of make you stand up as well and say, oh wow, we just captured this. We just captured this shadow figure, or we've captured this EVP that is extremely compelling. So a lot of our moments really come when we're going through evidence review.
Yeah. A lot of our experiences are firsthand. And, we don't run quite a lot. And I love seeing shadow figures, and we've seen buku of them. And, but every once in a while, like I said, you get that thing that is like, you got to back away from this one because this is not good. But, it's amazing what it is. And then, what's your most funniest thing that's ever happened on an investigation?
Well, and one of the things that it was funny, it's funny now. It wasn't so funny in the moment. And I know Miranda's listening, so I'm going to put her on the spot with this one. We were actually at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and for her birthday, I had just gotten her a body camera. And so we climbed all the way up to the top of this lighthouse. It's 200 and whatever feet up in this lighthouse. And we're at the very top, and she leans over and she's like, oh, wow. And then all of a sudden, here goes the body camera. I mean, she had just opened it like a couple hours before. So the body camera falls all the way down and just like, don't crash. And so it's stuff like that, you always get a good laugh at. We do have, because you do have to go in with a sense of humor as well. So there's been times we've captured bloopers on some of our videos and stuff, mostly of us either taking a nap and one of us snoring or something like that. But we do have a good time with this. We do laugh, but that I'd say that would rank up there as one of the most I can't believe that just happened moments.
Yeah.
There is always a blooper reel on a paranormal investigation.
Oh, absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely.
Always. And I heard you mention about, you were talking about EVPs and disembodied voices and everything. And you said, hey, and the first thing that I thought about was Billy and I were in a room together. And you want to tell that story, Billy? Because
Go right ahead.
Oh, so we're in the video room. We're in Nottingham Hall. There's an investigation going on, and they're having a great investigation. We're watching the cameras for evidence and so forth. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this female comes up and goes, hey. And she did it 8 times. Just continually. Hey. And finally, Billy and I are going, you hearing that? I mean, they don't hear it in the other thing, but we're hearing it. It's just like, hey.
I mean, it's like right there in our ear.
And
wow.
It's funny too because, yeah, Billy turns around and goes, hey, what?
Needless to say, it stopped.
Yeah, it did. It stopped right away.
But it was comical.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That is very comical. Again, to your point, Billy, you do have a sense of humor on these things, and our blooper reel. We probably need to put one of those together at some point because we do have a lot of fun, especially to be able to do this. Like I said, with my sisters and best friends, it is one of those where we do. It's fun. It's serious in the moment. We do take the research seriously, but you do have to enjoy yourself when you go to these as well.
Yeah, and especially when it's a place that you're at all the time.
Yeah,
and they're
exactly.
with you, and that's just the way they roll with you. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It really is for us. I mean,
right. We go to so many. We go all over the place. A lot of things. That Nottingham Hall is like very special to us, and we remember it very well. And it's got some amazing memories to it. But they all know us. It's like coming over. If you don't walk in and go, hi, how's everybody been? Are you okay? It's Billy, Tanya, Bear, hi, and they get upset at you.
That's like Father Casey looking at us and saying, that's one mister.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that would be the interesting thing about actually being, associated with a location. to have that
Mhm.
familiar presence with you, and just being able to communicate with them like that. And I think it would obviously change the dynamics a little bit from a team that's going in there that has never been there before to actually having that history with the spirits there. I think that's a very unique thing, and I'm
It
happy for you
really,
guys.
and we find that we there are several locations that it's like that for us. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just
Right.
the more we go,
Mhm.
the better everything works. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just
Right. It does. It does. And unfortunately, the more information you do get, and some of it is not what they're telling anybody else, but they are
Mhm.
telling you. And it's to the point where you're like going, okay, now we have to do some research because
Right.
some of the stuff that they tell you is different than what history says or what
Mhm.
the other people are saying.
Mhm.
And most 9 times out of 10, you find out that what
Mhm.
they're telling you is the truth,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that's very
really
interesting.
scary.
That is interesting that you say that. One of the locations that I had the opportunity to go back to multiple times was the Ma Barker house in Central Florida. And
Mhm.
this was the site of the 1935 shootout between Ma and Fred Barker and members of the FBI. And there's a lot of controversy about this shootout, especially around Ma Barker herself. But, one of the controversies is that the FBI really did murder them. And now, don't get me wrong, the Barker Carpus gang were very prolific during the Prohibition era, and they were bad people, right? They're associated with killing 14 people, 14 civilians. But one of the controversies is, did the FBI actually go in and murder them, or were they actually legitimately killed in the shootout? And so when we were there, it was just Jenny and myself, and we were doing a spirit box session up in the room where Ma and Fred's body were found. And the spirit box, you can hear that it going through the frequencies. And I asked what happened in this room, and we captured this entire phrase. It said, "They murdered us, we the ones dead." Just like that, through the spirit box. And to your point, Bear,
Yeah,
that's their story. Their
it
story
is.
is that they were murdered. And so
Right.
that was extremely interesting to us because, one, to capture that full phrase on a spirit box is compelling in and of itself. But to have that, the way they phrased it, that they were murdered,
Right.
that was, that what is my takeaway, that was their story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you leave a lot of static cams or static recorders sitting in a room all night long,
Hmm.
and it takes a lot to review those, but
It
sometimes
does.
those have the best evidence. And
Hmm.
I know that I was looking through your website, and one of the boy, one of the EVPs that you did catch and you had on your top 10 list was one that was in Ohio. And I thought it was really cool because it was left empty, no one in the room. I think you were on break or away at the time.
Hmm.
And the next thing you know, you get an EVP that says, they're here. I'm going to just say it, and you can correct me, please.
Hmm.
They're here to talk to us. Something similar to
Correct.
that.
And
Right.
exactly. Yep, you're exactly right. That was at Prospect Place Mansion in Trenway, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting house. It was a stop underground railroad, and so they were they had a bunch of slaves there, and the stories was free slaves that had made it. These was again a stop on the underground road. The stories was there was a guy that was a slave hunter, and they actually hung him in the barn. A lot of history behind this place. And so
Mm-hmm.
we had we had a night vision video camera up in one of the rooms, and we were all downstairs. This was on the third floor. We were on the first. And it to us, it sounds like an African American woman saying they here to talk to us. And
Yeah.
which is very interesting because there were so many runaway slaves that were associated with this house. And so that was a very
Right.
compelling piece of evidence captured there.
Yeah. And it's a great piece because of what you do beforehand by telling them, hey, I'm here to hear your story and everything else, because that, again, shows
Hmm.
intelligent haunt. That means it's an intelligent spirit that understood what you said to it and is telling the other spirits around there hey,
Mhm.
they here to talk to us.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and
So what's
it's
your
fantastic. I'm looking into the chat room. Hi, chat. You know, we love your support. Sorry I haven't acknowledged you guys yet. We've got a whole mess of people in there. Hello, Joanne. I'm just going to go through a lot. Vicky Norris, by the way, Vicky Norris says, hi, everyone, and hello to Christy. And as we go through the list, Heavy Purple Eyes. That's an interesting. Miranda Young is in there tonight. Hi there, Miranda. How are you doing?
By the
Janet,
way, funny for you, sad for Miranda.
yeah.
I know. I saw that.
Yes, yes. Alicia's in there tonight. Hey, 46 Joe, how are you doing, my friend? Frankie Lynn's in there. I'm just going to run through it real quick. Melvin's in there. How you doing, Melvin? Jeff Tolson's in there. Billy Wilkerson. Hey, Billy, how you doing, buddy? Should I? I'm not going to do it. And hi, Jerry. How are you? All your, great fan clubs here. And we're looking for questions. If you have a special question or anything for Christy, we'd love to hear it. These two people are here. And, I got to shut up because they're like going, I got it handled, Bear. So, all right, go ahead, Tanya.
So what's your favorite location?
And that is a very interesting question when I'm asked that question, because every location that we've gone to is so unique because of the historical perspective. So we've enjoyed going to every one. For the history, I would say that Fort Mifflin in Philadelphia is just an amazing location because it was a fort that was built during the Revolutionary War. It was extremely instrumental in allowing George Washington to get his army away from that area. And it was a small band of men that held off the complete British Armada who was bombarding the area. So I love Fort Mifflin just for the history. For activity, it's kind of a toss-up between Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, the old Gilchrist County Jail in Trenton, Florida, and the Grand Old Lady Hotel in Balsam, North Carolina. All three of those locations were just locations that allowed us to get multiple pieces of evidence on multiple pieces of equipment. The Grand Old Lady is it's an amazing location because of the history again. But we were actually able to capture things like, we asked the presence in the kitchen, if you're here, can you let us know that you're here? The coffee pot turns on. A table was overturned. We are capturing amazing EVPs in that area as well. So I would say that those three locations, it's really a toss up for me with regard to activity.
Okay, so with the table overturned, was that like abruptly?
Yes,
Wow.
it was. The Grand Old Lady is, like I said,
one of those oh shit moments?
It was.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is it's a 3-story hotel. It was built in 1905 as part of the railroad system through North Carolina. And they've really kept it in that historic vein, right? So you go, there's no televisions in any of the rooms. There's no radios. They really want you to have that sense of community when you book a room there. So it's almost a little bit primitive, but there's 100 guest rooms. They've got a grand ballroom, a large kitchen, a little bar area. And so we actually, again, collaborated on this one with Miranda Young, and we had the entire hotel to ourselves for an entire weekend. So Miranda did her investigation on Friday night. Jenny and I did our investigation on Saturday night, but we had a base camp on the first floor. So Jenny and I were on the third floor, and we heard this loud crash, and you hear me yell down to Miranda, was that you? And she's yelling up, is that you? And it was, neither one of us. So we started going through all of the rooms, and we came to this one room on the second floor where this table had been completely flipped over. And unfortunately, we didn't have anything in that room because, there's 100 guest rooms, so we can't cover it all. But, when we pushed it, we set it back up and we pushed it over, and it was the exact same noise. So it's just a great location to investigate. One of the best EVPs that we captured there. We decided on Saturday night to sleep in a room that was up near adjacent to what is reported to be the most haunted hallway in the hotel, called Henry's Hall. And so the room that we stayed in was actually a suite. So there's only one door to enter and exit the room, but there's a small, twin size or about a full size bed in this interior room or exterior room. And then there's another double bed on the interior room. So Jenny and I were in the double beds and Miranda was in the room in the front, or the bed in the front room. So we had a night vision video camera on the outside of the door and a night vision video camera on the inside of the door. And Miranda had a voice recorder on her nightstand and I had a voice recorder on my nightstand. And so you hear us say goodnight. And about 15 minutes later, a male voice outside the door said, "Please don't go." And Miranda said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "What did that sound like?" I said, "There's a man outside our door." And she's like, "That's what I thought." And it was so clear. And the fact that we captured it on the night vision video camera that was outside the door, picked it up. All of our voice recorders picked it up, the night vision video camera inside the door, but yet there's no man outside that door. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it was just
know
it was
there's somebody else standing on the other side of that door.
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those where
But
you're kind of
really
laying there. Yeah. I'm sorry?
It primitive. That's really cool that they keep it primitive. So that way you get that full effect of how it used to be. You know what I mean?
Right, and that helps the spirits also, and it helps. And of course, it's going to help you be able to communicate better with them.
Yeah, and I encourage anybody to go to this location. It is just an absolutely interesting location. Just for the history, all the original hardwood floors, the windows, the doors, and all of that. So just to be in those hallways and knowing that history is extremely interesting. But to catch the paranormal activity that we captured was really off the chain. That one.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I see on the chat there that hey, Laughlin asked, grand old lady, ? What do you call a grand old lady?
Well, the Grand Old Lady Hotel is where we are investigating.
That was actually the name of the hotel. Okay.
Yes, it used to be called the Balsam Inn. It's in Balsam, North Carolina. So it used to be called the Balsam Inn. And there's been several YouTubers that have gone in and really have tried to portray this location as darker or more demonic. And for us, that was absolutely not the case. It was one of those that I think the spirits really wanted to talk to us. They were welcoming. They wanted to let us know that they were there. We never felt threatened or harmed in any way. And so I would absolutely love to investigate that location again. It was just an interesting location to be in.
Yeah.
See, sometimes I wonder if it's not how you go into the place, how you, present yourself towards them as to what they're going to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And that's how we approach it. You can go in, as I said before, with that sense of bravado and the chest thumping and all of that. And I think that's what you're going to be met with. We've been fortunate enough to go to some of the most haunted locations in the country. Over 24 of these locations, like Brushy Mountain in West Virginia State and Trans-Allegheny and the Lizzie Borden House. And in none of those locations have we ever felt threatened. Have we ever felt anything that we would consider demonic? But yet you've got these YouTubers that are sensationalizing it, or these popular media shows that are sensationalizing it for that reason. And we've never felt that. But to your point, we do go in with that sense of exploration, that sense of wanting to know if we can communicate with a spirit that's there and if we can tell their story. And, we do approach it like that. And I think because of that, we get the responses that we do.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. And I got to ask you, because you are so much into the history of locations, do you find that actually helps you find locations, say the road less traveled, be just as good or even better than, say, some of the marquee locations?
Absolutely. And, we really started going to the marquee locations really to build our portfolio and to really kind of put out there, that we are serious about what we're doing in the paranormal community. But to your point, absolutely finding some place like the Ma Barker House, or Prospect Place, which is still a known location, but still smaller in the community. Those locations to us, the ones that can really, that we can help enhance that historical narrative, right? If we can go out and tell tell that story that not a lot of people know about, and yet couple that with compelling evidence. And that's what we love to do. Finding these little lesser known places that have an amazing legend behind them, or local lore that we can really investigate. That's where we love to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wonderful when you get off the beaten path and you're in the smaller towns and everything else. And look where we live. And we're fortunate enough. We have two great places to, excuse me.
And while Bear's doing that, real quick, Frankie Lynn has asked this question twice. Have we ever experienced any mimicking? And Frankie Lynn, no, we have not. Not that I would be aware of. Some of the answers that we have been really germane to what we're talking about, but nothing that I would consider mimicking.
Like you haven't seen like your sister around a corner and she wasn't there. She was in a different location.
No, I've never seen anything like that. We've never experienced anything like that. And now, not that I would say that I looked at it and I thought it was Jenny. Now, I've seen things where I thought, like, for example, we were just at the Shakers Bar in Milwaukee, and we're going to be putting this out in video form here in the next couple of weeks. But we were coming, the guy who shut down the bar that night before we started our investigation, his name was Zach. And so he said, I'll be out of here by about 3:30. So in about 3:45, we went down. And when I came around the corner, I know I saw a person standing there. So I look back at Jenny and I say, oh, Zach is still here. But when I turned back, there wasn't anything there. There was no person standing there. So you can, we have it on camera. You can see us walk around the bar, open all the doors that were there. And I'm yelling, Zach, are you here? And there was nobody there. But I can really consider that mimicking per se. I think it was a shadow person that was standing there. And I just happened to think it was Zach because he was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pick up a lot of mimicking every once in a while, don't we, guys? It's always it's different when it happens. What I was talking about, small towns are the place to be. Here in Franklin, with the tons of residential. It's amazing how haunted Franklin is. I mean, it's just crazy. And Billy Wilkerson and the wonderful gals with Whiskey Tango Foxtrot also know all about Franklin. They got the new location here, and they've got an event coming up. Are you going to be at this event in July?
July 31st? Yes, I will be there, and hopefully meet a lot of new people, see some great faces and friendly faces. I'm very excited about that event.
Yes, I am looking forward to it too. Second annual event. The first one was just great. Looking forward to seeing you there, Miranda, and all the things. Always looking forward to. I love getting together with you guys. It's just one of those wonderful things to be able to sit down and talk to you and say hey. And I love the hugs. One of the things that, some of the other places that you got coming up, you got something coming up in June, don't you?
Yeah, we actually had our next one canceled. We were going to go out to Texas, but unfortunately that fell through. So we won't be going there. We will be going to Ohio to Pottstown Elementary in August. And Jenny and I will also be going to the Twinsburg Twin Festival in August. Very excited about that. We're hoping to also return to Fort Mifflin this year. And then we have a couple other things that we're working on. Hopefully we'll be able to make some announcements in the next couple of weeks, but some big things coming there. And as far as investigations, we have 3 that we should be releasing here in the next couple of months, as well as our Landmarked Legends and Lore series, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of a spin-off series that we're doing, which doesn't focus so much on paranormal investigations, but interesting legends and lore surrounding different things. Like, for example, we had haunting cemeteries. So we went through different cemeteries in several different states. We had haunting bridges, which we thought was pretty interesting. So we had the legends and lore behind different bridges. our next one I'm really excited about. We went to 5 different states to film for this one, so I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So
Super.
that's really what we're working on.
Yeah, and I love that stuff because there are so many legends. And that's what, when Miranda started the Ghost Bikers exploration, it all started kicking this off, and it was such a great concept.
I got to ask you, how much Miranda Young artwork do you have around the house?
I've got several pieces around the house. Yeah,
I'm sure
and
you do.
I always get the sneak peek first before she releases them. So I'm pretty
I
proud to
would
be able to
love
do that.
that.
But yeah, so
Anybody,
she's extremely talented for sure.
way in talent.
Absolutely.
Way in talent.
Yeah.
But I also know that I heard a rumor that someone mentioned it to me that you were looking at working on a book. Is this true?
Yes, we are trying to work on a book. Right now it's a lot of loose leaf paper and some file folders. But it is something that we would love to put together, basically really delving into the different historical perspective of really what we do and how we do it, and then a more in-depth analysis of those locations, of really how we did the investigations. Because with our videos, we try to keep it about 20 to 40 minutes long. We really don't want to overwhelm the audience, but with a book, we can really delve into how we do our investigations, our technique, and really what we found and why we think we found it, to put some more theory in there behind it, more so than we do in our videos. So yeah, we really hope to be doing that. We've been doing several things as well, putting together some surveys and some studies. We were recently asked by Arkansas State University to participate in their Delta Symposium. So we did a pretty comprehensive survey of paranormal investigators, haunted locations, as well as ghost walk tours. So we did that, and I presented it at the Arkansas State University Delta Symposium, and we'll be putting that into a white paper as well, and hopefully get that in front of some tourists, maybe in tourist industry locations or conferences or something like that. But we're really proud of that one as well.
Yeah, we heard that you did an awesome job on that.
Thanks.
And we're all looking forward to it because when we heard it about it, we were going, "Oh, you got to take a look at that," because
yeah, I can send you the results of that.
Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I did have it up for a little bit. I did about an hour-long presentation on it, both for Arkansas State University, and then I did a Facebook Live on it as well. But it is one of those things that I do want to release as a white paper. So I'm going to really put those survey results down and, like I said, present those. But it was a fascinating study, and I really do appreciate everybody who took the time to answer those survey questions for me. And that's what really made the survey. And it was interesting because some of the majority of the locations that I surveyed, even though we had just come off the pandemic year, they indicated that paranormal investigators were really what helped keep the lights on. And they were able to do that service offering, or have that service offering, when they had to disregard all of their other historical tours. So that was a big plus for paranormal investigators. Some of the interesting findings that we found about paranormal investigators themselves was fascinating. It seems like a lot of us are willing to spend a lot of money and go places and do things like that. So I was really pleased with the way that survey turned out. And like I said, I'll be releasing that white paper here, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
We'll be looking forward to it. There are so many different things, and I know that you. What do you think of spirits? Are you? Do you believe in? We talk about a lot about it being the paranormal, all paranormal fields being intertwined. Do you see that a lot in some of the things that you do?
Oh, absolutely. I think you do have to have that mindset. It was interesting when we did this last investigation in Milwaukee. We also went down to Bray Road, and just kind of to kind of see what that was like, and try to kind of get that experience and see what everybody's talking about there. Is fascinating. And I think you do have to have that open mind, because we're all dealing with things that right now are only based on theory. So absolutely, I do think that UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, while they're different subsets of paranormal, absolutely they're in the same paranormal field.
Yes. Um, any tips that you can give upcoming investigators or people that are experiencing paranormal activity at their home on the easiest way to remove or to be able to get it without causing any harm?
Removing things in that nature is really not what we do. That's not really my comfort level, honestly. We don't profess to be able to remove them or go in with that mindset. To answer the first part of the question, if I'm speaking to an up and coming paranormal investigator, the first thing that I would say is you have to go into this with the right intention. And the right intention for me would be that respect level, both for the history of the location that you're going into, as well as the spirits that you're trying to communicate with. And I think that's the number one thing, the number one piece of advice that I would give. The second one is to really have patience. And because it's not like you see on television, right? We all know that it's not this thing where you're going in and investigating for 30 minutes. You come out with some awesome piece of evidence and you tell the homeowner, "Yep, we're done here." That's really not how it works. We're in locations sometimes 24 hours or more doing these investigations. So patience is key in what we do. And then really just get yourself a voice recorder and just push record and start asking questions and see what you find. But to the other part of your question, if we have a client that wants something removed or feel that is necessary for their home, then we have people that will call that will seek the advice of a professional more so than we are.
Yeah. We deal with it all, and it is amazing. And I'm with you on, we get a lot of questions because of the years that we've all been doing this and the respect that you have in the community.
Mm-hmm.
When you do get that, I'm always saying the same thing that you are. I'm like going, it's very important that you, first of all, have to be respectful to them. Mm-hmm. Second, if you don't like history and if you don't like research, then stay out of this line because that's where it's all at. That's where all your evidence, that's where everything's going to relate to. Because if you don't work there, it's not about the fun time. The fun time is only like 15% of a ghost hunt. The rest of it is laying out all of the ideas, knowing what to ask, what you're going to do during that time that you're there. And it takes a while.
And then you got the review.
Yeah, then you got
to get all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the part that I love, just going through all of our voice recorders and all of our video cameras. Yes, it's tedious. But even though you're 99% of what you're listening to, you capture nothing, that 1% where you capture a voice and that there's no men there or no children, but yet you're capturing this, or, you see a shadow figure walk in front of your cameras. That to me is just really what keeps the adrenaline going and what keeps me listening, to the next 10 hours or the next 15 hours. Interestingly enough, Bear, back to your point about the history of these locations, one of the questions that I asked on that survey that I mentioned earlier, I had a list of about 15 items of what, if you're a paranormal investigator, what is the most important thing to you when you're doing an investigation. And about 94% of the investigators says the history of the location is the most important part, even above, if there's reports of paranormal activity, or if a popular YouTuber has been to this location, or a popular television show has been to this location. It's the history of the location that really drives what we do. The secondary response, which was so interesting to me, was the responsiveness of the owner of the location, the owner or the manager. That ranked extremely high on factors to when you're looking for a paranormal investigation location. And so again, back to your original point, the history is really what we do.
Right. Yeah, and it is. It's I'm glad that we enjoy being around. Yeah, that's one of the great things. Like a meet and greet that's coming up here at the Old Stone Jail on July 31st. It's great to be able to get together with all of us. We don't get an opportunity to do that, and it's not the ego thumping the chest thing like you said. It's the down and out respect for each other and going, wow, let's talk about this and let's talk about that. And we have a lot of fun doing it, and we laugh a lot, but we also learn a lot. And we always, it's a joy to be able to share that with each other. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, just awesome. Do you have any questions from Christy at all?
I think you just asked a bunch of them.
Oh,
How long do you feel you should stay in a place to get really good, solid investigation? I guess to get answers and things. How long do you think it should take?
For us, it really kind of runs the gamut. A lot of our investigations, we're there for probably about 5 or 6 hours. And there's been locations that we've gone to that we haven't captured any evidence. And that's not to say that it's not haunted or that there's no activity. We just didn't get any that night, or the times that we were there, the day that we were there. We've been very fortunate enough to where there's been some where we walk into the door, like for example, Lizzie Borden, and we captured 2 Class A EVPs before we even started our session. So, we could have ended there and said, this is interesting, and compelling. We've already got 2 male voices. So I think that's an interesting question to ask. And I really don't think there's a solid answer. For us, our standard is we're pretty much in a location anywhere between 6 to 10 hours. And that's really just when we start losing battery power, honestly. We can stay, the Grand Old Lady, like I said, we were there for an entire weekend. But that was a place where we could plug in and really recharge everything, and just keep that loop of recording going. And so it really just, it just really depends on the location, honestly.
Yeah. And if you have a connection with that location, because it seems like you get a better connection at some places and you may not get one at another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You do kind of go in and you kind of have that feeling initially, when you really go into these locations and you can sense that, okay, I think this is going to be a good night. We have the opportunity to really capture something here. And, going back to that whole respect level situation, the moment you walk in the door, you're respectful of the location and any spirits that may be in that location. And, you really do start to feel that connection with when you walk into the door.
It's an amazing thing. And when we're talking about time and everything else, we go for the night. We're there and we get in.
What I say? What I say is if you're getting activity at a location, keep going there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let the investigation be ongoing. I
That's
mean,
right. That's all it is.
Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a place that you don't get no activity, well,
Yeah. And then research your answers and then go back with more questions to extend that.
To draw it out more.
Yeah, draw it out.
Absolutely.
Draw it out more and to be able to build that relationship with that spirit that wants to communicate with you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're fortunate enough to go to a location multiple times, absolutely. Real quick, I noticed a couple of questions here. Larflin, for us, we use digital voice recorders, and we've had great success with those. So those are the ones that we really prefer. And Frankie Lynn, the popular places like Lizzie Borden House, I think they are used to people going in and asking questions, and I do think that lends to the activity that people get. But as we've been speaking about, I do think it's that respect level. When we go in, the first thing that we do when we walk through the door is we announce who we are, we announce our intentions, we announce that we're here to tell their story. And I really do think it's also in the approach on how you do it. And back to that patience level, really listen to the equipment that you have. If I've got 10 voice recorders running for 10 hours, I'm listening to 100 hours of audio. I'm just not stopping once I get my first Class A EVP. I'm listening to all of it. And I think that lends itself to really capturing some compelling things also.
Absolutely.
It does. And it's hard to review all the stuff, and especially when you got back-to-back cases and everything else. And I've probably been a little bad about that because I've got stuff on my recorder that I already should have done, but I don't. And but that is what happens in the paranormal world. But you do have to listen to every bit of it.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier, it makes you as happy as a lark when you start sitting down and you're doing it, and all of a sudden you hear whoa, 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 and you go,
It definitely gives you that little extra boost to keep going.
no, and that's exactly right. What else am I going to find on this thing? So,
It does. And, I think it really just does the investigation justice when
yeah,
you're listening to everything and you're watching everything. And if you don't, you may miss something. The first time we went to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, we've got 10 night vision video cameras that we had set up. And, we watched a couple of them and we weren't getting anything. And it's like, but that third one, we started watching it from one of the cell blocks, and all night long we've got rocks being thrown from the darkness at this camera. And it was fascinating to watch. You don't know where these rocks are coming from, but you can hear them whizzing by the camera, and in some cases pelting the camera. And if we just stopped after watching 2 cameras, we would have missed all of that. So it to your point, Billy, it's one of those things that once you capture something, it really just keeps you going. It's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm delving into the next 10 hours. Let's go.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember when we first started out in this, doing these things and going to places, and you would record, you'd take a security camera that didn't have any sound on it, and you would record 8 channels for 8 hours, 64 hours, and you would sit there watching the film and not hearing anything. And oh my
It's like a silent movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, I hated that.
That would have been tedious.
It is good that times have changed.
Yeah, it has changed. Thank gosh.
And thank God for SD cards.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
How many computers can we crash with evidence?
Right.
Yes, and you need backup hard drives. Right. I've already lost one of those, so everything is backed up in triplicate now.
That's the amazing thing too, because when you lose it, and I have had that thing. I've got 2 hard drives sitting over here, external hard drives that I put stuff on, and then also the regular flash drives. And golly, there's nothing worse than when you lose that, or all of a sudden that goes down because you just lost. Because these are massive storage units. So when you lose 680 gig of investigations, you kind of go, ow.
Oh, really? I go drink. So,
so for all those that want to check out some of your videos and stuff like that, where would they go to see all of this?
Our website is www.soulsistersparanormal.com, and that's where you can find out everything about us, our bios, all the investigations that we've gone on. All of our upcoming events and investigations will be on there as well. We're also very active on YouTube under Soul Sisters Paranormal. All of our videos are there, Landmarks, Legends, and Lore. All of those episodes are there. We'd love it if you would subscribe to us because that is a really big help. And then on Facebook under Soul Sisters Paranormal. So like us there. And you can message us as well. Anytime we put a video out, we'll release it on Facebook, so you can watch it there as well.
So there you go, people. Check them out. Give them that big thumbs up and share.
Yes, definitely, because they've got
we really do appreciate it.
A super group, and looking forward to seeing you here shortly.
First,
and I'm not going to ever ask you again to do an event at Nottingham Hall because I never hear back.
I know. I told Miranda, I'm like, I'm going to get the 3rd degree, but I'll take it. I know. We have to get over there again. It's logistics for us, but hopefully soon. Like I said, we'll have some interesting announcements to make, and we'll be able to get over there for you.
Oh, I understand. I understand how it is because can't make it all, and you guys are doing a great job, and I love what you're doing. And
thank you, guys.
So please keep that up, and give Miranda my love as always to you. And we thank you so much for being here. Anything else that we didn't cover that you'd like to cover before we get out?
No, again, I just really appreciate your time, and everybody who's been in the comment section. Thank you all for watching and for commenting. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but your support really does mean a lot.
And you're 100% right. Why we do this is we do this show for the chat room and the people and the camaraderie with it, and to be able to give information from great guests like yourself. And we do appreciate you spending the time with us and talking a little bit about Soul Sisters Paranormal and some of the upcoming things that you're going to be doing, where people can get out and really see a great bunch of investigators do what they do best. And this is one of them.
Well, thank you so much.
Hats off to you, darling. Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yep. Sounds great. Looking forward to it. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
That was one of my most favorite and loving people in the world.
Isn't she just so awesome?
She is awesome. She is awesome.
I remember last year at the meet and greet at the Old Stone Jail Historical Society there in Franklin, when that was actually the first time that I got to meet her. She was standing up in front of the crowd, and she started going through her bio and everything else, and I was like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't get too many doctors and everybody else in the paranormal, and you start going, oh, yeah. But
she's great.
She's great.
Yeah, she is. She's wonderful, and they contribute so much to the paranormal in a different way. And that's what's so important. You know, we need to get more people in it to understand the history of bringing of it. And Ghostbusters exploration,
the story.
Miranda Young, some of the other things that were out here. Yeah, it's all about the story. And those are the things that I think people like to hear most. Yeah, it's always great to be able to show the good videos and the good clips, but it's also good to know what's going on in the small towns and what's happening, because every place is haunted. There's all kinds of great stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be one of the big super places that you have to pay a lot for. No. But just be respectful. And even when you go to ask to get in there, you have to be respectful and know a little bit about what you're doing. Just don't go to an investigation, and please don't do residentials unless you really are going to do it, because you leave a lot of people hanging because they don't understand, as we all know. And residentials are a different beast. But guys in the chat room, thank you so much. As always, this show is for you, and we appreciate it so much that you're here and all the great information that you have to offer, and the great questions that you do. Tune in next week when we have Into the Fire brings you Beth Allen, and we'll have a good time with Beth, and we'll talk about her shows and some of the things that she's doing. And always a great pleasure to have Beth around, one of the great people to laugh with and also sit back and just talk to, because she's just an interesting person. So we thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Into the Fire. God bless.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.